I have serious reservations about the budget, and they're pretty well the opposite of what my colleague has just outlined. I think that if we have any sort of goal that we're going to stay below the cost of living and our increase, that's frightening, because then we're not even maintaining the status quo. We're actually consenting to let ourselves shrink. And I think one of our responsibilities this year is not just to preserve what we have, but to attempt to grow the city and grow the community. And I don't think you can do that if you're aiming to stay below the cost of living and our increases. We're not even keeping pace if that's our goal. So let's recognize this isn't a growth budget, this is a status quo budget. And that's no way to grow. As long as costs go up in the world, our costs do too, and if we're going to meet our responsibilities, we need more money. I think that 0% is, as a goal, is a dead end, and I don't consent to go there and don't want to go there. If there's some frightening things in this budget, I think the fact that we have limited our capital expenditures, and you talk about in context of the environment that you're leaving maybe your ill deeds of the present to future generations. Well, it works that way with capital projects too. If we're neglecting what we should be doing now, not only are we consigning the responsibilities of the future, but they're going to be more expensive when they're looked after in the future as well. And we say that we're maintaining services and we have no cuts here, but let's recognize there's one big cut in terms of our grant to outside agencies, because last year we did give $588,000 to our outside agencies, and this year we determined that we're going to give $488,000. That's taking $100,000 out of a $588,000 budget. That's a really significant cut. Now, it's only $500,000, you might say, and we think it's outside agencies. I think it's extremely important because those outside agencies, they are responsible for delivering so many programs that address the quality of life that our citizens enjoy. There's more to community than sewers and sidewalks, although we know sewers and sidewalks have to be our most important consideration. So are the arts and the recreational programs and that sort of thing too that the outside agencies provide. So I'm not happy with this budget either, even though I was part of the process. But I think that, if anything, we've gone maybe too far. So those are my comments. Oh, but I do have a question as well. I'd like to ask Ms. Adams this. You mentioned in your presentation so long that this was the third year of the MPAC implementation. Now, what's going to happen? Like eventually, I think we're able to keep our tax levy low because we have the MPAC, which is growing. But after 4 years, is that going to flatline, and then is that when we're going to see a big necessity to either cut personnel, as I've heard around the table here, or we're going to have a significant increase in our tax levy in order to maintain what we're providing now?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The average increase year over year is a little over 4%. So in year 4 next year, properties will see an increase in their assessed value on average a little over 4%. So if we move in a similar fashion to what we have done in the last couple of years, I would expect that there's a possibility that the tax rate will be reduced further next year to offset part of that increase. Then beyond that stage, what you would see is the tax rate is the tax rate. So movement of the tax rate is a direct correlation to the dollars that are paid in properties. So it's a little bit of a simpler calculation, and it's a much simpler statement. The tax rate is going up, going down. Here's the dollar amount. You take the assessed value of the property out of the equation because you assume that the property is at that point in time, unless there's another reassessment that occurs. Some individual properties might be seeing change for certain individual reasons, but overall, when that year 4 occurs, once that's done, then the tax rate is the tax rate. Then you're talking directly dollars of tax rate, and they move in sync with each other. So it's an easier communication, I think, out there. There's no financial impact. It's more so just the way we communicate what is occurring. So you don't have that increased assessment, so your tax rate might go up, as opposed to the last 2 years and this year, and maybe next year, the tax rate has dropped. So once that 4th year has occurred, if your tax rate drops, it's because we're cutting the tax levy.
So in year 5 then, we're going to see the repercussion of that.
I don't know that there's a repercussion. I think it's just a different communication that occurs. If you want to cut the tax rate, it means you cut the levy.
Anything further, Councilman Gunn?
Thank you.